The Peninsular War, a significant theater of the Napoleonic Wars, unfolded from 1808 to 1814 on the Iberian Peninsula. Its key focus was the strategic struggle against the expansive ambitions of Napoleon Bonaparte, who sought to dominate Europe. At the heart of this conflict was Portugal, strategically located at the western edge of the Iberian Peninsula and crucial for maintaining trade routes and military logistics. Control over Portugal offered access to the Atlantic, essential for Britain, Napoleon's formidable rival, to ensure maritime dominance and establish a foothold on continental Europe. The Battle of Vimeiro, fought on August 21, 1808, stands as a defining moment marking Britain's first significant victory in this war, effectively halting a French advance into Portugal. This victory affirmed the strategic importance of Portugal as a focal point in countering French hegemony. Its success provided a morale boost and significant tactical advantages in securing supply lines and a launchpad for further operations against French forces on the continent. We see the real-world impact of this in the subsequent retreat of French forces from Lisbon, showcasing Portugal's strategic terrain as a formidable barrier. It also acted as a catalyst for the formation of the Anglo-Portuguese army, exemplifying the cooperation between Britain and Portugal, which would prove instrumental in the eventual defeat of Napoleon's forces on the Iberian Peninsula. Supporting opinions echo the importance of Portugal in British strategy. Military historians often cite the accessibility of Portuguese ports as crucial for British reinforcements and supplies, underscoring the geographical and logistical significance of maintaining an ally in the Iberian theater. However, alternative viewpoints exist, highlighting the challenges faced in sustaining effective cooperation amidst differing national interests and military strategies between Britain and its allies. This strategic importance of Portugal in the Peninsular War connects deeply with other aspects of the main topic, influencing the subsequent British campaigns in Spain and Portugal. It showcased the effectiveness of combined operations and the integration of military and political strategies, a theme prevalent throughout the Peninsular War. The victory at Vimeiro laid the groundwork for future British successes and highlighted the critical role of international alliances, setting a precedent for cooperative military engagements. In essence, the strategic importance of Portugal was not merely geographical. It symbolized a broader coalition effort against Napoleonic ambition, a representation of unity against a common adversary. The prelude to the battle. Forces and Commanders focuses on the strategic groundwork laid before the Battle of Vimeiro in 1808, a pivotal encounter in the Peninsular War. This aspect underscores the preparatory phase, where the composition and leadership of the forces involved shaped the outcome. Understanding the forces and their commanders is crucial, as it sets the stage for the conflict, revealing strategic intentions and influencing tactical decisions. The significance of this prelude lies in its revelation of how Britain, under the command of General Sir Arthur Wellesley, later the Duke of Wellington, deployed effective military strategy and leadership against the French forces led by General Junot. This was Britain's first significant victory on the Iberian Peninsula, marking the start of a campaign that would eventually culminate in the liberation of Portugal from French control. This element is foundational to the main topic because it highlights the military capabilities and leadership that would define British success throughout the Peninsular War. Two notable examples illustrate the importance of forces and commanders. First, General Wellesley's decision to use the terrain to his advantage, positioning his forces in a way that neutralized the French artillery, demonstrates the impact of insightful leadership on the battle's outcome. Second, the composition of British forces, including experienced troops recently returned from service in other colonies, exemplifies how the quality and readiness of a military force can influence the course of warfare. The effectiveness and leadership of the British command are often praised by military historians who argue that Wellesley's tactics not only secured the victory, but also set new standards for British military operations in Europe. However, the complexity of coalition warfare presents challenges, as differing national interests and military doctrines could yield internal tensions. Critics might argue that the outcome was more a result of French errors rather than solely British prowess. This leads to the alternative viewpoint that Junot's missteps, such as underestimating British positions and mismanaging his reserves, were as influential as Wellesley's command. The prelude to the battle is intricately connected to the broader narrative of the Peninsular War by evidencing how strategic planning and leadership were pivotal in rallying Allied forces against French domination. This resulted in the stabilization of Portugal and set a precedent for future campaigns. In essence, the foundation of victory at Vimeiro was laid in the decisions made during this prelude, demonstrating how substantial the understanding of forces and commanders is to comprehending the entire conflict. The Battle of Vimeiro in 1808 was a significant engagement during the Peninsular War, marking Britain's first decisive victory over the French in the Iberian Peninsula. The battle tactics and movements employed at Vimeiro are crucial to understanding this triumph and the broader context of the war. The concept of battle tactics and movements refers to the strategic planning and execution of maneuvers by military forces to gain an advantage over the enemy. These tactics are essential for coordinating troops, using terrain effectively, and anticipating the enemy's moves. At Vimeiro, British General Sir Arthur Wellesley, later known as the Duke of Wellington, demonstrated exceptional strategic insight. The significance of his tactics lies in their impact on the broader campaign against Napoleonic France. By positioning his forces on the high ground and utilizing reverse slope tactics, Wellesley effectively shielded his men from French artillery and forced the enemy to attack uphill, a crucial factor in Britain's victory. This battle established the effectiveness of such defensive tactics in the Peninsular War, allowing the British to maintain pressure on Napoleon's forces in subsequent engagements. Specific examples of these tactics include the use of light infantry to skirmish and disrupt French formations. British troops also employed disciplined volley fire, a technique in which soldiers fired in unison to maximize the impact on advancing enemy columns. These methods were not only effective at Vimeiro, but set a precedent for future battles, where disciplined British firepower and defensive positioning frequently overcame French forces. Opinions supporting these tactics highlight their groundbreaking role in countering the dominance of French military doctrine, which heavily relied on aggressive, column-based attacks. Commentators have praised Wellesley's ability to adapt to the terrain and exploit French weaknesses, significantly enhancing British military reputation. However, potential challenges and controversies regarding these tactics exist. Critics argue that reliance on these defensive strategies could stagnate offensive action, and some might contend that had the French applied more innovative tactics, the outcome could have been different. The battle tactics and movements at Vimeiro deeply influenced the conduct of subsequent campaigns in the Peninsular War. They not only provided a blueprint for defeating Napoleon on land, but also strengthened the morale of the British forces and their allies. The success at Vimeiro demonstrated the importance of strategic planning and terrain use, which became hallmarks of Wellington's later victories, ultimately contributing to Napoleon's downfall in Iberia. The Battle of Vimeiro in 1808 stands as a pivotal moment in the Peninsular War, marking Britain's first victory against Napoleonic forces in the Iberian Peninsula. Central to this success were two key figures: Sir Arthur Wellesley, later known as the Duke of Wellington, and General Junot, the French general tasked with maintaining Napoleon's grip on Portugal. Wellesley, a brilliant tactician, was instrumental in the British strategy that ultimately led to their victory. Known for his keen eye for terrain, Wellesley expertly chose Vimeiro as the battlefield, leveraging the area's natural hills to offset his army's smaller numbers and maximize his troops' defensive capabilities. Conversely, Junot, despite his loyalty to Napoleon, faced formidable challenges. Underestimating the resolve and strategy of the British forces, his attacks were thwarted at every turn, leading to a decisive and morale-boosting defeat for the French. This battle was significant for several reasons. It not only represented Britain's first tangible success in the Peninsular War, which lasted from 1807 to 1814, but also marked the emergence of Wellesley as a formidable military leader against Napoleon's seemingly invincible marshals. Vimeiro set a precedent for future engagements throughout the Iberian Peninsula, showcasing the effectiveness of defensive positioning and tactical ingenuity over brute force. For example, Wellesley's success at Vimeiro was later mirrored in battles like the Battle of Busaco in 1810 and the decisive victory at Waterloo in 1815. Wellesley's methods have drawn praise from military strategists for their emphasis on adaptability and innovation. However, some critiques suggest that Junot's limited resources and the challenges of communication across rugged terrain may have overstated the brilliance of Wellesley's tactics. The reliance on strong supply lines and local cooperation could be viewed as critical, and not merely the result of superior battlefield maneuvers. The dynamics between Wellesley and Junot also highlight the broader themes of the Peninsular War: the clash of military doctrines, the influence of leadership, and the impact of geography on warfare. Understanding their roles provides insight into how individual prowess and circumstances shaped the course of the conflict. This battle not only set the stage for future engagements in the Peninsular War, but also influenced broader strategic decisions by the Allies, impacting how coalitions were formed and maintained against the Napoleonic forces across Europe.